You're welcome back. Now, the long-running, it's a no-brainer, I'm here with a runner as well, the long-running case against the hashtag End Bad Governance protests came to a quiet but significant end this week as a federal high court dismissed the treasonable felony charge that had held them in custody and in court for a full year. The protesters were arrested after a demonstration that authorities described as a threat to national stability. But the court ruled there was no evidence to support such a grave accusation. Their release has reopened the national conversation on protest rights, the use of extreme charges, and the broader discomfort successive governments seem to have with civic dissents. Now, for many Nigerians, this case has become a mirror showing how quickly youthful agitation is framed as treason and how heavily the justice system can lean on protesters while struggling to secure convictions. It also raises an uncomfortable question. When the court finally steps in to restore balance, what happens to the lost months, the tainted records, and the chilling effect on civic participation? As inflation bites and governance failures stretch the patience of ordinary people, the handling of this case sets an important precedent of future.
Now joining us to unpack the legal and also the social implications is Justice Ejionor. He's a human rights lawyer and of course he's a friend of the house. You're welcome once again.
It is my pleasure to join you.
You're the runner she was referring to. Welcome back from your run.
And I invite you guys to join the run, and running is good.
Thank you. In fact, we were just talking about that from before the show. He's just done his run from this morning before coming over. We had to shift his appearance just so he could accommodate that. I mean, you and I are runners. I only just started this week. She's been running from Nigerian men all her life. So I guess, yeah.
I still get my calories in one way or the other.
One way or the other. But Justice, let's take a look at the End Bad Governance instance here. And the case has been, after an entire year.
Much longer than that.
Much longer. It's August.
16 months, yes.
Yes, exactly.
16 months.
Now, what does this say about the initial charge against these End Bad Governance protesters? What's the strength of it? If the justice system has stepped in here, what does this tell us?
Okay, it's a shame. I feel that it's a terrorism against the civic right to protest, as demonstrated by the government. The government, especially represented by the prosecution, they knew they didn't have the goods. They didn't have the evidence to be able to sustain a conviction. In other crimes, you are supposed to, as a prosecution, get evidence first before you proceed to prosecute. In the US, it's as much as most of their cases, more than 90%, I think in Japan, they have a 96 or 98 or even 99, I dare say, conviction rate, because they will not bring an action against you if they don't have the evidence to be able to convict you. Unlike those crimes, the Nigerian system is a shame. The justice prosecutorial powers are used as persecutorial powers. They are used to persecute people rather than to prosecute people. They know they will not be able to convict, but they will just haul people, haul protesters, haul Nigerians generally, especially young Nigerians, to the gulag in a manner of speaking. And I say to the gulag because whilst people are being prosecuted, they are supposed to, of course, the Constitution section 36 says that you are presumed innocent until you are proven guilty. But here, yeah, we know that that's the position of the Constitution. They take you before a judge, they bring up charges against you, a lot of times trumped up charges, because they know that the judge will say, in most cases, these are the bail conditions. And sometimes they are so onerous. But unfortunately, in cases for treason, murder, kidnapping, things that are in those class and cadre, the court will most likely not grant bail because they will give a lot of reasons. You can go and tamper with the witnesses, this can happen, that can happen. Because they didn't grant bail, despite the fact that you are still presumed innocent, it means that people essentially and in effect are going to be held in prison pending when the trials will come. And unfortunately, in this case, the trial did not come because the prosecution just refused to show up. I assume that in court, because of course it's what we have done so many times, what the lawyers to these defendants would have done would have been to approach the court, my lord, in light of the fact that the prosecution has not been present, has not taken this case serious, we urge this honorable court to strike this matter out for want of diligent prosecution. Once the prosecution has the evidence and they are ready, they can always come back to profile charges and prosecute this case. But in the meantime, the court should strike the matter out against these defendants, and that must have been what happened in the case.
While you're saying that the judicial system has done good by striking this out, you're saying that it has done that a bit too late and is in itself a tool being used against dissent.
The prosecution knows, they knew, and they're abusing the judicial process. They are abusing the criminal procedure in our country, which I want to, by this example, and not just this example, a lot of examples. Mr. Ejionor, for example, has been through this process so many times, not just him, a lot of other people who are always pressing and fighting for the Nigerian people. They have been persecuted with this process because they know that most likely the court will want to give the prosecution another chance to be able to present his case. So when the prosecution either doesn't come, or the witnesses for the prosecution do not present themselves, the judge, in order not to mess up society, they have to either give the prosecution a second bite at the apple, a second chance, a third chance. And I want to even say that we should amend our criminal procedure laws, not just the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, both the one in Lagos, both the one everywhere. We should amend our criminal procedure laws to ensure that if the prosecution is not ready to proceed with its case after 1 or 2 adjournments, the matter should be struck out. Nobody should be abused with our criminal procedure because the prosecution are practically wanting to imprison people pending when they are convicted.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just before we head on to the next conversation, or to the next questions rather, we're also joined virtually by Akande Daniel. Akande Daniel is the coordinator of the movement for the Socialist Alternatives from the Abuja branch. Akande, you are welcome. Now, I think just going on to him, freedom of expression again, and I think I moved to this because it's a critical thing. And I know that within the Constitution, freedom of expression, which is also in the form of protest, should be able to take place. So Akande, this is for you. From your engagement with activist groups, what message does the dismissal send to young Nigerians who feel the system is hostile to dissent?
Akande, that question was for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I couldn't hear the question that was put forward, but it's nice having me here. Well, I don't know, maybe I should just start.
Should I repeat the question for you?
Appreciating everyone, the social movements, the civil society organizations, the socialist group, our lawyers, including both well-meaning Nigerians, nationally and internationally, who came in our support.
Akande, can I repeat the question for you?
Around us during the sham treason.
Akande, just a second, Akande.
So
Inam was trying to ask you the question all over again, Akande. If you just be patient for a bit.
So my question to you was, from your engagement with activist groups, what message does this dismissal send to young Nigerians who feel the system is hostile to dissent?
Well, I think I can't hear what you're saying.
Oh, wow.
Akande will try and fix that and we'll get back to you. Our apologies.
Justice, can you help us?
Okay, the system is not tolerant towards dissent at all. And I can, of course, this end bad governance protests, a lot of people received the short end of the stick when it happened. I was there on ground in 2024 when all this happened. At least I was there on ground for the 2024 protests, the number of days that it held. I was fully on ground in Lagos here, and I saw what everybody faced. At some point, I threw myself in between people, both the ones who are for and the ones that were sponsored by the government, I dare say, because I saw things with my eyes. and I saw the fact that the mobilization of law enforcement, it was so outsized compared to the number of protesters that were on ground. It was almost like a war zone, the way the government went about, the way they dealt with protesters. And I also remember solidly that even the media was not spared. You see, some journalists from this your reputable station, he went around on social media at the time that they too they were not spared.
No.
So we saw that was also the time where a lot of minors were hauled into court, minors that started passing out right in front of the international public. So I feel that it was all a show of the fact that this government is not tolerant towards dissent. I also want to draw your special attention to the fact that when bad governance protesters decide that, they want to maybe commemorate, or we saw that happened in October, the Lekki massacre, when they wanted to commemorate the people with the Lekki massacre. We see the way the government, law enforcement, mobilized excessively and in an outsized manner, and the way they cover their face and beat up people who are just trying to mark the deaths of people who died fighting for the right to protest in this country. They shouldn't be unsung heroes. They should be remembered. They should always be celebrated, because the freedoms that they enjoy, that even the governments are taking for granted, at some point they should be on the other foot. The present President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was with us during the 2012 fuel crisis, the protest that we had.
Yeah, but why does that surprise you? That means he knows exactly what, he knows the system.
But again, at some point, he's going to be out of office.
Well,
people like that will be out of office. They should become on the other foot. And they too, we urge them to join us in protest, because there will never ever be a perfect government.
Justice, there's still more to talk about this, but let's turn to Akande. Akande, we hope that you can hear us now. Let's test and see if you have your audio fixed. Akande, if you will please give us a greeting once again. Akande, are you there? Akande, please, can you confirm if you can hear us? Oh, unfortunately, I don't think he can. So, Justice, we are stuck with you. Now, Justice, okay, I'm being told that Akande can hear us. Akande, let me ask you this question already. When it comes to these charges that have been thrown out now by the courts, they are serious charges, treasonable charges. You could lose your life in some countries, even Nigeria here. So for these agencies that actually brought up these charges against these young people, the question now is accountability. How can they be held accountable? Do we just forget that they raised these charges and let them go? Or I'm asking what true accountability would be like for these agencies.
Thank you very much for that brilliant question. Like you have rightly said, we need to make these agencies, both the DSS and the police, accountable for everything they have done against the Nigerian youth, during the End Bad Governance protest. And of course, the only way we could do that is also by taking them to court. Obviously, our lawyers have given the government maybe 24 or 48 hours ultimatum to see that all families who lost a life during the protest and all the comrades who were detained behind bars recklessly, without any justification, that all of these people should be appropriately compensated. And that if that is not done, we have to return back to the court. But obviously, we also know that even before now, the first police prosecutor who was in charge of our treason trial himself was caught up in the scandal, falsification, and that as we speak, he himself is undergoing a trial at the federal court in Abuja. And of course, we also looking forward to see how other individuals, aside from the collective establishment of the police or the body of the police, being sued by our lawyers, being sued by ourselves. We're also looking forward to how we put individual of this, members of this police force and that of the DSS, individuals who shot at protesters, individuals. For instance, this video you are playing, it was the members of the police force that was denying us entrance into a public-owned institution, into the court premises. And what that means is that these elements, their high addedness is overreaching. And what we can do appropriately is to begin to put them into account and be holding them responsible one after the other. And of course, the establishment that have sent them. And we have made it known that even these elements are not well paid. Even these elements are part of the system in Nigeria, but because they are being used by the Nigerian state against the interest of the individual, against the interest of the genuine mass of the working class, that's why they are misbehaving. But we have also seen that we are the ones that even protesting on their behalf to have a better pension at the end of the day. How can we explain that after 35 years, this element do not taking 2.56 million naira home at the end of 36 years? So we begin by taking them to court and also seeing how we can begin to appropriately, like we have done in this video that we have shown, that we pinpoints each and every one who have participated in those outrageous and uncalled character which has exhibited those character should be taken into account. And that's what we are trying to do in the coming days.
Now, Justice, for you, let's past, present, and of course the future. What can the Nigerian youth expect when it comes to their rights to protest, their rights to use their voices, because your voice is a power? But taking into consideration what has taken place right now, what's the expectation for them?
They have to summon more courage, because I don't see the present government backing down when it comes to clamping down on their right to express themselves, to associate with each other, and to move, which are the potpourri of rights, 39, 40, and 41 of our Constitution that constitute the right to protest, effective protest.
So what does the summoning more courage look like? What does that look like?
They have to be like me. They have to be like the other guests, and they have to be like all the other, Mr. Lenin that was prosecuted, and Mr. Soweto Adesi, and the other people. My role wasn't to really end bad governance. My role on the ground was to ensure that the rights of both the people who were in support of end bad governance and who are expressing their grievances against the protests are adequately protected. So my role essentially was to engage both law enforcement and the courts if eventually they are arraigned. So, of course, a lot of people were arrested on ground, and we appealed to the people in authority, the commissioner of police at the time, to release them to us and things like that. But it will take more courage, just like I said earlier, more courage. You must be willing to say, but the Constitution gives me this right. I should be able to enjoy it maximally. And I won't give it to the president, I won't give it to the Inspector General of Police, I won't give it to the Director General of the DSS or any other representative of law enforcement that wants to deprive me of this right. Justice Ejionor said it in the case that, I think it's Buhari and AMPP, where the court said that the role of the Nigerian police is not to prevent us from protesting, but to ensure that we enjoy all the protection that we are entitled to against hooligans.
Now, Justice,
when we are protesting.
Justice, let me just jump on Justice Ejionor's comment there.
Yes.
When you talked about protection and how that is our right. This has happened. This is going to dampen the courage of most people who have dissenting voices. That's
not necessarily.
Let me
it's not emboldening them.
Just a second now.
Okay.
But the question is, if there is no call for a reform of police procedures itself and also prosecutorial discretion
abuse.
That we have, abuse as you call it, then that courage is still going to keep dwindling. You might have the courage, you're asking people to be like you, but to those who don't have as much courage and want to, they need to be sure that there's something backing them, and that's a call for these reforms. So where's that drive? I know we've got some protests in the past for the police reform, but how big is that outcry as against governance? Because we're all yelling governance now and we're forgetting police reform. NSAS was, how long ago? Have we had anything the sort?
Okay, for me, I feel that there are a lot of procedures already in place to protect the average Nigerian person that wants to protest, and I just feel that it's been abused. I feel that it's been generally abused. The average policeman knows that the Anti-Terrorism Act is against him terrorizing any Nigerian, whether they are under his custody or protesting. The police procedures and a lot of laws, they are already fully in place.
Justice, I want to also hear from Akande on this.
Okay.
Akande, you heard the question. Let's talk about police reform and how agitation for that is not as loud as the agitation for good governance. What do you have to say about that?
Very correct. We have always put it forward that the overall system of policing itself needs to be reformed. And there has been so many discussions around that. Of course, it has not been allowed as the demands around ending bad governance in this country. But it's not something that we have laid to rest. We are still demanding that we need an overall reform of the policing or police system, policing system in Nigeria. And that itself needs to be done. We need to intensify efforts in making sure that that is done anytime, sooner than later. Because when you look at the conduct of the Nigerian police, it's quite barbaric, it's uncivilized, it's quite very, they behave more or less like a tout, like thugs. And that itself needs to be corrected. They should see themselves as part of the mass of the working class. And that's why some of our comrades have raised it. Even the needs for the police themselves to have a police union. Maybe by that they begin to realize that they themselves are part of us and that anything that affects us affects them also. And so on the long run, I think it's something that we should look into, and I think we continue to lend our voices, making sure that that the system of policing in Nigeria is actually being reformed appropriately. There are so many things that are needed to be done. In short, no police is not supposed to be coming to a protest ground with ammunition, with live ammunition. I wrote a book this year, and I wrote it as part of the experience I had in this, during the last year August protest, where a police shot a live ammunition at someone and even shot tear gas canister at the very close person that was, one of the guys that was close to me. We had to use clothes to wrap the guy's head because of the loss of blood. And that itself is an act of barbarism. Police is not supposed to come to a protest ground with live ammunition, with all of these dangerous weapons. And I think we need to re-emphasize, reiterate the need for this police reform. And I think the channel like News Central will also help us in amplifying our voices, in lending our voices to make sure that this reform comes sooner than later.
Akande, thank you so much for your insights, as well as Justice here with us in the studio. I think it's an ongoing reform that eventually will come into play, and the right to express yourself using your voice and placards will soon find greater expression. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen.